getting published talking about this anti-black misogynoir or uh, anti-black misogyny or misandry. It's gonna have to be contended with. Okay, glad I'm not. I am a black feminist, but only in my personal life. No.
I think the more one engages with him, the more visibility he gets. I actually think it's um it actually is promoting him. I mean, if a serious so someone's going to read that book. This person she says teaches at I think it's Berkeley. She's a serious scholar. It's her first book. It's her tenure book. It's in the middle of the book. And I'm assuming there are several pages on it. It's introducing people to a person that they never would have otherwise heard of. And I think that actually has the opposite effect of what the anti-Tommy Curry project is. I think people online and on social media and in public events can do it, but I just feel like when I feel like it gives him an aura of legitimacy and a kind of scholarly brandishing that is incredibly he would not have gotten otherwise. Someone at UC Berkeley who's writing a serious book on sexuality and history of slavery, quote unquote Black studies. I don't know what these people call it now. I, just, that was stunning to me, and maybe it's generational, but I can't imagine 20 years ago someone, unless writing seriously about. I can't think of who a version of Tommy J. Curry was. So I feel like he was banished. Is that the word? Exiled in Scotland. I think his antagonists are going to allow him to come back. I don't think it's going to be the fans. I mean, these people online to do that. I don't know. I always think that it's best to just. This is not Streisand effect, but I feel like it's a version of that. I don't know. Yeah. I, I don't
But
know.
his minions are getting their papers published. Like
Where?
where
I've
I
never, and
let
no
me
leading
let me
journal have
look.
I read of any black male
I
studies of
saw a
that
But
journal
scope.
where I was
but that's the thing. Like, yeah, I get both of what's being said here because, yes, you can discourse him into greater legitimacy. But when I go do research, he pops up in Routledge series books. He pops up in anthologies. He pops up in philosophy readers. And so, like, he's there. He's there. He's getting awards for his papers on his ridiculous paper on epistemology and race gender theory. That is a paper that is not squarely in black male studies that he got recognition for quite recently, and it's a crazy paper, but he gets recognition for it. I think at the American Philosophical Association somebody gave him an award. So I don't know. I think that yes, more visibility gives him more. Yeah, but I think he's garnered some degree of it already to where like you need to, I guess, say something. But I don't know. It's very prickly because
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you.
I think that people who should squarely be responding are actually people like who are not visibly associated with the academy, like people like me and Redacted, versus like people who are publishing. I don't know, but somebody has to say something. But maybe that's the
Mhm.
difference. But I don't know.
So I'm gonna blame you personally and others like you. You guys are making him better. I think you're not only legitimizing him, you're making him better. Y'all are helping him woodshed. He's actually a better writer now than he was about 5, 6 years ago, whether you agree with the ideas or not. But it's been the engagement in the arena that has made him better. I'm telling y'all, if y'all just ignored that and did a Twitter, nobody would know who he is. He is known now because of y'all. I'm just telling y'all, y'all responsible for his new fan. I'm just telling you what
I
he is.
also want to
look,
say I'm in the shower, so it's a little loud, but let me
I
also say let me say this
We can
really
only hear your
quickly.
voice. You're good.
Okay, great. We recently like had like a little Twitter space chat with them, and I was just reminded about like the sheer mediocrity,
Yes.
and it actually like I had like an epiphany where I was just like, oh, I'm actually good off of this because like
Yes.
you're stuck in Edinburgh. Um,
I lost dopamine. Like my dopamine levels were pretty
but
good,
Yes.
no,
but
like
like
you're.
I
I was.
got dumber
I
and
literally I had a
less
conversation with
engaged.
myself and I just was like, you're stuck in Edinburgh, and so you can believe in unicorns if you want to. I mean, I don't care what you
I
believe.
mean, he
Uh,
really said this person who I won't name. He really said that misandry. First of all, he said he wouldn't acknowledge whether men other than black men and racialized men to face misandry. Okay. He said misandry, at least among black men, or is corroborated by the fact that black people have the highest intraracial gap in incarceration, and that this alone substantiates misandry. Of course, this doesn't make any sense, but it's just like being up close and personal with who he is producing. You know, the other guy, Myron, who's even dumber than Rennie, is his student in Scotland. And he was saying some shit that didn't make not a lick of sense, like not a lick of it. So, yeah, I mean, I get it.
Can can I read to you some of the journals, not just his work, that people who are citing anti-black misandry is being published in? Callaloo. Okay, where's the other one that I like? Feminist Media Studies, Feminist Review, the Journal of Black Sexuality and Relationships, uh, Sociology of Race and Ethnicity, Toward a Black Boy Crit Pedagogy. I don't know about that one. But these are Taylor Francis, Sage, John Hopkins
Yeah. Are they tearing
journals.
him down? Or are they saying, what are they
These
saying?
are
Like,
people who are talking about the misandric characteristics in Toni Morrison.
I would ignore. I mean, it's
That's
uh,
really what they
I
be
would.
writing too. They be like, this paper is about color purple and the anti-black misandry. Like this is what they
yeah, they
write. Yeah.
actually I had to. I told them the other day. I was like, if you think I'm gonna have a conversation with you about the color purple, you've got another thing. I'm not. I'm not having. We're not having the color purple discourse again. Like it's not 19. I don't. What the like? It's just like what the fuck is even going on? Who the fuck is about to sit here and argue with you about the fucking color purple? Can you guys get the fuck for real? Like we're actually like we're not rehashing this. It's not the 90s. Like I don't know what's happening.
And they bring
Like,
out they clip of James Baldwin. It's, oh, you think gay niggas got ideas now? Oh, it's interesting. You want to bring out your token queer, your token black fag, and bring him out anytime you want to substantiate. Well, Baldwin had a problem with color purple too. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's very just at this point, but people are critiquing him here and there. I think Olufemi Taiwo's critique of the man not was actually very good, and Tommy Curry can't contend with it. He just claimed that Taiwo misread everything. Like, okay, that doesn't deal with anything, but people have responded to him, and he's not good at responding. I mean, he's also a liar. He just lies on people in his book.
Every fucking word that he says about black feminism is 70-30 a lie or a misrepresentation.
Yeah, he misrepresents two scholars and says that in their work, they say that in the black community, being quote homosexual and being quote homophobic are quote equally stigmatized identities. That's what he says in the introduction.
And when you posted that, you can see that it's clearly a misrepresentation that he's making, even though it's like a direct quote, but he's chopping and screwing what
Yeah,
they're saying
he's a manipulator.
to fit his argument.
Right.
But I find it even worse that he just straight up lies on Sadia Hartman,
Yeah.
saying that she says that sexual violation is only only happened to the female slave, that it's the defining feature of their experience of slavery, which I read her as saying reproduction, like a forced birth, not
And
as
everybody says the
sexual
complete opposite.
violation. I know it.
The
It
complete
twice
opposite.
in two different spaces. She talks about how the black male slave is also subject to sexual violation, and that she didn't have access to the same types of archives that would show her the extent of it, but that she knows it exists.
But there was
She's
a
like,
professor. There was a professor that DM'd me on, and she was just like, "You guys have to realize that like there are academics who like need this is a gimmick, like he's obviously this is a grift, and he's not stupid. Or at least like marketing of it is not unintentional because a lot of the men that he recruits online don't have a high school diploma, nevertheless. And so he does want to foment an argument, so um he's able to do that. But that's what he wants legitimacy, is what I'm saying. I think that was like
oh yeah.
Misogyny's point earlier. It's just like
And it's
he
like,
wants legitimacy, and it's like, but you don't have any, so
and
no one takes you serious.
he tried to go get. That's the thing though. Like people won't take him seriously, but they'll take seriously people who like him and who cite him. So it's like even the dude who's running like the Center of Study for Black Men at Morehouse College right now is a Curryite, even though they did not want to hire Curry, himself.
And didn't.
And, so, yeah.
They also want like their own like male like commodity. I don't know. Like feminists have their niche where at least like especially like liberal feminist academics were like, this is the feminist center of Ida B. Wells. They want I'm telling you, like these straight heterosexual cisgendered men, they want their own reclamation. We're just like, I'm tired of it. I don't want another queer theory. I don't want another hooks um panel. I mean, there's a critique of like liberal whatever academics, but it's also just like he's not. It's like you guys want to be a part of that. You don't want to be away from it. As much as like Myron screams about being counterinsurgent, he's not. Like he's just a liar. Just a liar. That's why it's been years and nothing has happened. Like you're still screaming about misandry on Twitter, and Trump is in office, and you're still a nigger, and you're still overseas, and you can't get a job in the U.S., and you're especially not going to get one now. I don't know what the girls thought. You thought you had grounds for legitimacy prior to? You have nothing now. In this post-liberal Trumpist administration, there's no room for any of it, let alone misandrist aggression with feminists. Yeah. So there's nothing to discuss. And Rennie doesn't have any legitimate academic scholarship in any published journal. He has like articles on like Substack at 36 and still working on a degree to get and still working on a statistics degree. I don't even know what I don't even know. One minute these people
No.
they pose as, yes, Rennie is getting a master's in like statistics.
But,
But it's so funny because online he's screaming about how he's a philosopher. It's just like you need
yeah, whatever whoever his advisor is, they need to he needs to return whatever get it. He needs a refund because in what world do you, do statisticians compare the disparities across groups? I've never seen that type of analysis anywhere before, where it's like, oh, the disparity between black women and white women, we're then going to go and compare that disparity between white men and black men. I was like, I don't know if y'all saw this. I was online saying, you're asking me why the most privileged men experience less oppression than the least privileged men. That's what you're asking right now.
I
And
mean the same way there's like a racial backlash, you know, there's a gender backlash. And I think that like language is generative in the sense that like, you know, these men get online and they want to scream that like women rape men. How novel. How boys get molested and no one cares. And still no one cares. Did you know that? Right. Did you know that Boosie hired a woman to molest his son because he wanted his son to be straight?
yep.
Right.
If if
Where's your analysis about why another man would have a woman
They can never discuss
violently,
those things directly.
right,
It
right.
stops at trying
She raped
to
him.
invert feminist analysis, never about the actual like elements
Conceptual.
of what is going on and why. Like they do. It's just like there's no, and even if they acknowledge it, it won't be elaborate. Right? There's not going to be any elaborate acknowledgement of what would cause a man to think that getting his son sexually assaulted is somehow this insurance policy on his sexuality. And what is that? And though this is an extreme example, how does this connect to other daily practices of disciplinary, you know, all this other stuff? So it's just like, you know, people don't want to make those connections, but they're there, and it is what it is.
I mean, Rennie is such a homophobe. He believes that like there's an economic incentive to be a gay black man because gay black men somehow defy hypermasculinity by being faggots. So they experience less antagonism than heterosexual men. He actually is like making an argument that heterosexual black men are oppressed because they're straight and straightness is stigmatized as this like machismo hyper masculine identity. And so it's actually straight men who are oppressed in the workplace. It's not fags. That's why Torian was asking me about like what are the privileges to being heterosexual? Only a homophobe could ask you that question. All right. What privileges do I
Mhm.
get from being straight? That's what he kept asking in that space.
And I literally listed them. I gave them the data. They didn't engage with it at all.
But I mean, when I was in the space and I told him about prison policy, and I told him how queer and trans people are disproportionately incarcerated, you don't have anything to say on the basis of being gender deviant in a heteronormative world. And you, as a straight person, are asking someone queer, what's the privilege of being heterosexual in a heteronormative society? I mean, just bizarre all the way around.
It is. And it really is. After I finished the book, I was driving, I listened to it. I was like, I need something to keep me awake. Okay, if I listen to this book that I hate, it'll fuel enough anger to keep me awake for this 8 hour drive. It works. And I understand why people call it abuse apologia. He wants the perpetrator to disappear. I I was really confused when I read the second
You said it's
chapter.
apologia for what? Sorry.
Abuse apologia,
Oh yes, yes, yes.
because he really wants the perpetrator to disappear. Like they don't exist. All the violence is just environmental. Everything is being aimed at the black man, and everything else that happens to anybody around him is just strays. Like, and I was like, okay, is that the argument he's making? And then listening to his followers on Twitter talk about, oh, well, the what did they say? They said that the convict leasing system and the Jim Crow system was made to target black men. And I was like, excuse me? Don't you mean black people? And he was like, oh, well, I didn't say it didn't target black women. They had gender specific
And
ways.
they believe that this is what's so malicious about their analysis is like they try to do this weird thing where they say, well, our analysis is only about gender specificity. But it's like that's actually not your claim. It's not about gender specification. It's about gender negation and using misandry as their heuristic to describe Black masculinity subordination. And this is really interesting too, is like, how are you guys describing how gay men experience masculinization, trans men? I mean, who has the proprietary rights to claim manhood? I mean, clearly in your discourse, it's implicitly ascribed to heterosexual Black men, able-bodied Black men, fit Black men. So many layers that like they really don't get into. Um, but they use it under the guise of like, we're not saying that Black women aren't subordinate. We're saying that patriarchy targets outgroup males. You have to listen to like they use this really weird language, outgroup males. Okay. So it targets outgroup males. Does it target outgroup females? Yeah. And then you have to ask like even more questions like, okay, so it targets outgroup males and outgroup females. It's also interesting because they kind of like make a concession that like white women are not subordinated by patriarchy, even though they're complicit. I don't know, there's something weird about how he kind of like characterizes those things where it's like, is it like, is that what you're saying? Or do you guys like not have a like steady grasp of like what you're trying to get across? Because that's what it insinuates, you know, it's like, uh, what's the name of that book? She owned them too or some shit. Um, but yeah, it's just
They were her property.
they were her property, yes. They like constantly try to like warp in that women can be abusive, and it's like we know that. I don't even know what you're talking about.
The movement from anti-blackness to racism, and from this is about black maleness to subordinated black men and back, whiplash. Okay?
Hmm. And
Because what
they
the
won't acknowledge too that they're anti-feminists. Right? They try to pose like they're neutral to some extent, but it's like you guys are outwardly anti-feminist. Outwardly. Like you guys sit online talking about Gloria Steinem invented feminism. It's just so you're 36, bitch. Like it's just too much. You know, at least for me, it's like, girl, I can't keep doing this with you. Gloria
m-
Steinem, bell hooks, like
me
it's just like it's too
too.
much.
Once I really went in with them, because I was like strict, because I hadn't really read Shatima Threadcraft till Scion put this one piece in front of me, and I was like, oh, I definitely need this one for my own work. And then I was arguing with people online, And they were like, that's not what she says. That's not what she says. So I was like, you know what? I got an hour. I sat down and read three of her articles and then started posting quotes of what she said. And the way they just lie, I'm just like, the text is right there. You can see her
Mind
words
you,
right there.
in her own article, she puts the onus on state delinquency and does so while saying that I do this in an attempt not to pathologize Black men as deviant. Like she actually makes that disclaimer within her own passage so that people won't take her work and put it on people who are victimized, which is a much more gracious feminist position than I would, right? I would do both, right? You know me
Yep.
as a much more scathing feminist critique is we have to talk about state delinquency, state inaction, state repression, and we're also going to talk about Black men's um, adulation for patriarchal dominance. Both
Well,
are true.
I want to be well. I just want to make sure we're clear, and I'm sure maybe you guys know this, but she definitely does do both. In that paper, are you guys talking about the victimization paper, liberal, the limitations of the liberal state? Is that the paper you guys talking about?
I don't think I've read that one specifically. There
Okay.
was
When I'm talking about different paper, which paper are you talking about? Redacted.
I'm talking about the one where she says that this is not about Black male deviancy. I don't know if that's in femicide or in
Oh, wait a
states.
minute. Yeah, I'm trying to think. The one about deviancy. I think it actually is in the limitations paper. Let me make sure. But nonetheless, in that paper, she does talk about how she said understanding the causes of black men's violence toward black women is not enough, right? And she also says that the discourse, and this is symptomatic of, this is what black male studies is a symptom of, the discourse positions black men almost entirely as objects of white supremacist policymaking and regimes. But she says the racialized masculinities, particularly in the communities, the specific community she was analyzing in her response to Tommy Shelby's book on what he calls the dark ghetto. She says that it means that these masculinities mean that black men also act as subjects who restrict the life chances of women, of black women and of children. But it's like they
Repeat
have
that
never.
last part. She said it what? Restricts what?
She says that the US, the racialized masculinities that result from racism and the racialized black masculinities, the violent masculinities. Yes, he's talking about violent masculinities in particular. So not all black masculinity or black, but like she's talking about the actual violence, and she says that when talking about this violence, it shows that black men act as subjects as well, and that they're not simply and entirely she calls objects, right? She says actually they're not simply objects; they're actually subjects, and masculinity, even when they are broke as hell, unemployed as hell, masculinity informs how they act as patriarchal subjects that commit femicide and domestic violence and these things. And so, yeah, I would definitely say like she does do both. She definitely says like this is not a pathology. In fact, things like unemployment are much better indicators of like potential of homicide. And if unemployment is a structural indicator and it's black men dealing with chronic and mass unemployment or disproportionate unemployment, then it's very obvious, right? So But she's more so saying like she's on some like basically like some social democratic shit. Basically, she's like, yeah, we want communities to be nonviolent. We want black men and women to live as nonviolent people among each other. Then it requires, you know, this kind of intervention into the institutions, the economy, distribution of wealth, that kind of all that normal stuff. But yeah, she's also going deeper. She's going deeper, right? So that's kind of the public redress. She's talking about the private redress as well when she gets into her conception of Morrisonian democracy in her most recent essay. Her what she calls a form of truant democracy for those who have been
You read,
victims of
sorry.
intimate injustice. Go ahead.
I know you read her paper on embodiment where she like talks about Simone Dubois, the second sex. Um, I've only like glanced at the first couple of pages, but one of the things that I noticed that she does and that most feminists do, and that like feminists get a bad rep for online, is that, you know, like feminists are dealing with like the conceptual objects, but they don't directly take to task like, at least not the Black feminist literature we've encountered like directly. And what I mean by that is like even in her the essay on like Black femicide, because she's such a socialist democrat or doing this like social democracy, she only talks about like, or her priority within the paper is like uh the institutions. I'm wondering, I'm like
Are
interested
you
to
talking
know
about
like,
in embodiment?
no, in Black femicide or in is it visualizing Black femicide or trying to visualize Black femicide, something like that. I was citing embodiment to say that that's where she deals more theoretically with misogynoir. I'm assuming that paper does that in a much more granular way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but I'm saying like the way that they disparage feminists, you'd think that like every paper was this male hating paper, and very rarely, if at all, do we need to discuss men outwardly. And that's like not her methodology. It's not her approach in her writing or in her research. And so it's just like, even when reading her, it's so weird how like someone like a Myron is so apathetic and averse to femicide literature. And this is why I can't stand him. You don't believe in femicide, but you guys believe in gendercide. It's so weird. It's just like you guys are just
Wait, what
weirdos.
does that mean? Gender side?
I
What does that
don't
mean?
know. I haven't read it and I'm never
Oh,
gonna read it. I don't know. I'm
oh,
never gonna
okay.
read it.
Wait, was
Um,
Myron the one I was arguing with? Or
maybe
was
one of
she?
them, yeah. Maybe one of them, yeah. Um, stupid ass bitch. Know how to drive, huh? Excuse me.
I mean, remember I got Rennie to write with just the definition of a citation?
Me and Ready to Ray
It's so funny in his
had a whole debate
piece, but
about
hold on, I just want to
abolition and
mention
annihilation.
in his piece that he published in his little article, he actually says that Bell Hooks cites someone. And so the next time someone says that she doesn't, everyone should just screenshot from Rennie's piece where he says Bell Hooks cites X, just so that we have that.
I was hoping he was not an academic, that he was
Wait,
He's
what he do?
not.
he
What
was
did
He's
he
like,
not
do?
an he's not an academic.
okay.
This wasn't an academic article.
Oh, okay.
It's
When you said he
some
published
whatever.
something, I was like,
Well, he
no.
he press publish.
Oh, Oh, that's
which is so
sad.
funny because to be citation queens, um, you don't have any. It's just like to actually like speak on bell hooks and like have all of this ridicule and like ire behind the kind of what do you call those trade books that she published when like you can't even finish a master's degree. Like, let's back up, flip it and reverse it, right? Missy Elliott, um never speak on mother. Mind you, I have multiple clips of bell hooks saying that patriarchy is the most life-threatening thing to black males, like out of her mouth, in her book, on stage with Gloria Steinem, and like in text. That's another thing. These people are atextual. I love that word. I know it's not a really fancy, but it's just like it's so the amount of atextual claims that they make about books are just not there. That's why it's so easy. I'm not gonna lie, I do have a bit of a fetish to embarrass them online. It's kind of fun. One of their other, what do you call them? Disciples or this other weird academic. He's a political scientist, and he does work on voting, particularly, and trying to. I think it's called the Black Voting um, something institute or something, where he studies um, all of these different pollings. Um, what do you call them? Exit polls, and there is a subset of the Democratic Party that has racially charged motivation towards Black men. A part of that scrutiny, though, that I think like becomes detextualized is that Black men do not vote in the same frequency for the Democratic Party as Black women. And what's interesting is that Rennie will say, well, this is just a subset of Black males who are conservative. Okay, well, why does this same subset of conservatives not exist amongst Black women at this frequency? Right? It's not to say that no Black woman votes for Republican. Obviously, this is not true. Um, but there's a very clear conservative, tangential male bonding frequency that we can find cross racially amongst men of dominant racial groups and out group racial males, out group racial males, and that same disparity exists. So what is it about conservatism? What is it about right wing right wing policies that attract men more than they attract women? Right? What is the reasoning behind that? Um, and there was a census data that came out that Donald Trump had overperformed with men, and particularly with men of color. Now, those men of color that he overperformed with were Hispanic males. The men that he overperformed with the least were Black males, but nevertheless, still men. Right? Like he overperformed with younger, I think it was younger males, but men more generally. And he did do better with women and, a lot of different minority groups as well. He just did better. Now, partially this has to do with voter turnout. Right? So someone could argue that the voter turnout in the 2020 election and the voter turnout in the 2024 election was decreased substantially. And so it had an effect on those numbers, because less people voted in the 2024
Hey,
election.
redacted. I don't want to interrupt your flow. Have you looked at the chat? Yeah, we're being
I'm
recorded
I'm
on
I'm
YouTube.
driving. I'm
Oh,
driving.
okay. We're being recorded on YouTube. I don't know if you want to shut the room down and make another one, but there's a burner in here recording us on YouTube.
Uh,
Yeah, I talking
I
about
don't
that
know why.
uh,
deranged white man who be sitting in front of the computer all day.
I guess
I mean, he's
probably
just gonna
bring
come into
John
another
Kidd
room,
over.
right? Isn't he just
Probably,
gonna
yeah.
come? Or should I remove him?
Yeah, it's probably if
If
I
it's an
Is it
had
the
the
anonymous
anonymous
photo,
account,
one?
then
it's
they
probably, oh, you can't remove the anonymous one, but it could be our pills, but I don't know.
yeah. But I mean, the
The,
FYI, I guess it's the FYI. Not as though we can do
okay,
anything.
I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, I mean, I sure. I mean, white people. I mean, if you're listening, John Gets over, you're simply displaying all of the kind of morbid cognitive traits that are kind of part of whiteness. So, congrats, being a stereotype, nigger.